wherein an estimated 200,000 Haitians would die, and virtually the entire colonial white population of Haiti would be either or driven out of the country, never to return. And although Haiti had paid dearly with blood for their sovereignty between 1791 and 1804, they weren't finished paying for their sovereignty with treasure yet, and they wouldn't be for a very long time. In 1825, French warships showed up outside the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince. They gave the Haitians only two options. One, they could accept a deal in which France would finally recognize Haiti's independence in exchange for Haiti agreeing to financially compensate France for their loss of property experienced during the Haitian Revolution, including France's loss of their hundreds of thousands of former slaves. But this latest intervention into Haiti going on right now is only the most recent one in a very, very long history of foreign interventions into the country that have gone back centuries.
People on the internet saying, oh, how come you guys don't build? How come there's no empires in Black nations? Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. These people globally just can't leave Black people alone.
There's hardly even a Haitian government left in the country to speak of that's actually capable of fighting back against them, because there aren't even any elected government officials remaining in the country at all now. The most recently elected president of Haiti, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated 2.5 years ago now, back in July of 2021, by still unidentified gunmen who raided his own private residence. In fact, no Unidentified, huh? Interesting. Elections of any kind have been held in Haiti since 2016, nearly 8 years ago now. As before Moïse was assassinated, he chose to continually delay the Haitian elections that were supposed to take place in 2019. His choice to delay those elections, along with corruption allegations and a worsening economy in the island nation, led to mass protests against him that ultimately culminated in his assassination in July of 2021, under deeply suspicious circumstances. The gunmen who murdered him are assumed to continue remaining at large, while Haiti's own governmental investigation into the matter has been extremely slow going. And then, nearly 2 months after Moïse's suspicious assassination rocked Haiti politically, a devastating 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti's Tiburon Peninsula in August of 2021 that would rock Haiti even further. That disaster would kill around 2,250 people in the country and injure more than 12,000 others, and would also cause up to $1.7 billion in economic destruction for Haiti, representing about 8% of the entire Haitian nominal GDP at the time. So, if you're following, in the span of just 2 months across the summer of 2021, Haiti witnessed their elected president get assassinated, then a catastrophic earthquake that caused significant financial and human destruction, and on top of those, a new unelected and unratified leader who rose to power under these circumstances and who became immediately viewed by the majority of Haitians as completely illegitimate.
And let me just also add that this happens all around the world. All types of African countries deal with this. This is Haiti, they're in the Caribbean, right? Just a bit south of Florida. But this happens all over the world. And next thing you know, there's a mysterious new leader that is put in place by who knows who.
It was the perfect opportunity for many of Haiti's heavily armed gangs, many of which consisted of former members of the Haitian police, to begin seizing advantage of the power vacuum and the chaos to carve out their own areas of influence through force. Violence of all kinds within Haiti has therefore skyrocketed ever since 2021, largely as a result of the gang war that has been raging across the country's capital city, with the United Nations reporting that more than 3,000 people in Haiti have been killed by gang violence in 2023 alone, a statistic that makes the current conflict going on in Haiti one of the most violent ongoing conflicts in the entire world right now, with a comparable number of deaths from warfare in 2023 as happened in Yemen. As a result, in July of 2023, the Biden administration in the United States urged all American citizens to immediately leave from Haiti and to not travel to the country under any circumstances until further notice, as Haiti continues to collapse into increasingly violent anarchy. Since the current crisis in Haiti exploded in mid-2021, well over 100,000 Haitians have fled from their country as refugees and risked their lives either by traveling to South America and then trekking by foot through the notoriously dangerous Darien Gap northwards to the United States, or have embarked towards U.S. territory directly by whatever makeshift boats or water-capable crafts they've been able to get their hands on, which has recently made Haitians one of the largest nationalities of people being encountered by the United States Border Patrol ever since. Due to the fact that the various gangs in Haiti currently control an estimated 90% of the capital and largest city in the country, and the government has completely lost its monopoly on force, the unelected Ariel Henry administration has been repeatedly requesting and at times pleading for a foreign armed intervention into the country to crush the power of the gangs and to restore the power and authority of the government across the whole country. After which, Henry has promised to finally host the terminally delayed elections in Haiti again. On the 2nd of October 2023, his frequent requests for this foreign intervention were finally granted, after the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution authorizing yet another armed intervention into Haiti. As the details currently stand now, as of December 2023, the United States will be largely funding the intervention with more than $100 million, while the East African nation of Kenya will be taking the lead of the intervention with boots on the ground. They will be deploying at least 1,000 of their own police officers and soldiers to Haiti, with the objective of destroying the gang's control over the capital and restoring the authority of the Haitian government. And they'll be assisted by smaller numbers of troops deployed from the neighboring Caribbean countries of Jamaica, the Bahamas, and Antigua and Barbuda. But this latest intervention into Haiti going on right now is only the most recent one in a very, very long history of foreign interventions into the country that have gone back centuries. none of which have ever succeeded in establishing the conditions to prevent another intervention from becoming necessary again in the future. Out of the past 108 years of history, going back to 1915, Haiti has seen the presence of foreign troops deployed to its soil for 41 of those years, or about 38% of the time, including very recently in 1994, and then again between 2004 and 2019, and soon to be yet again in 2023 and likely 2024 until who knows when. Always in the name of securing the peace in the country and achieving political stability, and yet never actually succeeding in doing so.
See, these are the dudes right here. They come under the guise of, they're fighting for freedom, they're fighting for this, they're fighting for that. But why is it that whenever these people arrive and do their business, the countries experience unprecedented instability, violence, and a lack of control? The government is always destabilized. So I find that very interesting.
The current crisis going on in Haiti is, however, arguably the worst in the country's entire modern history, as Haiti currently stands on the precipice of becoming the only truly failed state in the Western Hemisphere, on a par with the likes of Myanmar, Sudan, or Afghanistan, as measured by 2023's edition of the Fragile States Index. And as Haiti collapses further into anarchy and violence, and the United Nations intervention led by Kenya and funded by the United States comes to try and restore order to the country again, Haiti's only geographic neighbor by land right next door, the Dominican Republic, or DR, is building a new Great Wall along their entire length of shared border to separate themselves from the Haitians even more than they already are. It'll be 4 meters high and made up of 20-centimeter thick concrete, and topped with metal mesh to prevent people from climbing over it. More than 70 watchtowers are planned to be constructed along the wall, while dozens of gates will be built into it to enable Dominican soldiers to carry out patrols. The wall will include drones, cameras, radars, motion sensors, and fiber optic cables for communications that are all designed to block anyone the Dominicans don't want from the Haitian side from being able to cross over the border. And once it's completed, the wall will effectively transform Haiti and the Dominican Republic into 2 completely separate islands, despite them each sharing the same geographic island.
A big, beautiful wall, as they say.
And despite the fact that they've shared this same island for centuries, the Dominican Republic and Haiti ended up experiencing radically different destinies, and even without the wall, the two may as well already be in completely different worlds. In nominal terms, the Dominican Republic's economy is 4.5 times larger than Haiti's, while in purchasing power parity terms, the Dominican Republic's economy is 7 times larger than Haiti's, despite the two countries having a roughly comparable population. This further means that when it comes to GDP per capita, Dominicans are on average 5 to 8 times wealthier than Haitians are next door, with citizens of the Dominican Republic being more comparable to countries like Serbia or Argentina, and citizens of Haiti being more comparable to countries like Rwanda and Uganda. In terms of poverty, about 58% of Haitians live on less than $3.65 a day, making Haiti one of only 6 countries worldwide outside of sub-Saharan Africa where the majority of the population continues to live under poverty. By comparison, only 4.3% of the Dominican Republic's population still lives in poverty, while Dominicans also live around a decade longer than Haitians do. 98% of the Dominican Republic's population have access to electricity, while only 47% of Haitians do, which, once again, makes Haiti one of only 2 countries anywhere in the world outside of sub-Saharan Africa where the majority of the population still doesn't have any access to electricity. Haiti is on the brink of becoming a failed state, with runaway violence, and is one of the most hopelessly impoverished countries in the world, while the Dominican Republic, right next door, is on the cusp of transitioning into a high-income, fully developed country by the end of the decade in 2030. If Haiti remains more or less in the same state as it is now by then, there will probably be no other greater disparity in the entire world across borders by levels of development and income, other than the Saudi and Oman borders with Yemen and the South Korea-Russia-China borders with North Korea.
And I know what you're thinking. What's wrong with them? Why are they failing so hard? Well, just wait. We'll get into that.
So how did this very unique situation on this island develop in the first place? Why did Haiti and the Dominican Republic, despite existing together on the same island for centuries and having a very comparable current population size, end up so vastly different from one another and so separate from each other? Some of the factors that explain this difference today are historical reasons, but they don't explain the whole picture. You see, the island that they both exist on, Hispaniola, was initially colonized by the Spanish, but it was first legally divided in 1697 by the Treaty of Ryswick that formally established a Spanish colony in the eastern 2/3 of the island and a French colony in the western third. From the very beginning of this division of the island, though, the French and the Spanish treated their separate colonies on either side radically differently. The Spanish ended up pursuing a policy that was more focused on settler colonialism over on their side, with more limited amounts of slavery by the standards of the time. By the end of the 18th century, the modern Dominican Republic, still under Spanish colonial rule, only had a population of about 104,000 people, only 30,000 of whom were enslaved people from Africa. And meanwhile, the French over on their side of the island treated things extremely different.
The English, the French, and the Spanish treated their colonies extremely differently. The French are known for having treated their colonies some of the worst. English a little bit better, and the Spanish somewhere in the middle.
They pursued a policy of historically enormous exploitation, the likes of which have hardly ever been seen before or since. It's estimated that across the 18th century alone, the French forcibly transported approximately 800,000 Africans from their continent to modern-day Haiti as slaves, a figure that represents nearly double the number of African slaves brought to the entire North American continent during the entirety of the North Atlantic slave trade. By 1789, on the eve of the French Revolution, it's estimated that Haiti's population was around 556,000 people, which was a little more than 5 times the total population of the neighboring Spanish colonial Dominican Republic. But only 32,000 of the people who lived in Haiti at that time were European whites. There were an additional 24,000 freed people of color, and an estimated 500,000 Africans and their descendants bound in the chains of slavery, outnumbering their white colonial masters by a ratio of nearly 16 to 1. France used all of these slaves as their labor source to work across the vast sugar and coffee plantations that they set up all across the island, which for a time made Haiti the most lucrative and financially valuable colony in the entire world. For the people who actually dominated it so ruthlessly. Half of all the sugar and coffee that was being consumed in Europe came from the slave plantations of Haiti, and they helped to make the French kingdom the wealthiest in Europe at the time. Haiti would also become independent decades before the Dominican Republic would, and through far more violent circumstances. In the midst of the chaos of the French Revolution, the slaves of Haiti, who vastly outnumbered their colonial masters,
Wealthiest at the time, right? Remember that. Because when all these people nowadays are going to these European countries to see such splendor and opulence, these are regions that have near zero natural resources. This is one of the reasons I would never go to Europe, because these people built up their empires, if you will, on the backs of nations that had resources, that had labor, that had things that were to their benefit. These people would never have the cushy, beautiful lifestyles that they enjoy today had it not been for Black people.
Rose up in a violent revolution of their own in 1791. Across the next 13 years, both the Haitian slaves and the colonial French engaged in a brutal genocidal war of annihilation against the other, wherein an estimated 200,000 Haitians would die, and virtually the entire colonial white population of Haiti would be either killed themselves or driven out of the country never to return. By 1804, the French had given up and retreated from their former colony, but they, along with the vast majority of the rest of the outside world, continued refusing to recognize Haiti's independence for decades. And although Haiti had paid dearly with blood for their sovereignty between 1791 and 1804, they weren't finished paying for their sovereignty with treasure yet, and they wouldn't be for a very long time. In 1825, French warships showed up outside the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince. They gave the Haitians only 2 options. One, they could accept a deal in which France would finally recognize Haiti's independence in exchange for Haiti agreeing to financially compensate France for their loss of property experienced during the Haitian Revolution, including France's loss of their hundreds of thousands of former slaves.
These people essentially kidnapped people from where they were living. They were living in peace. They were enjoying themselves. They kidnapped them, brought them to a place to work for free, for no payment, and terrible conditions. Then when these people revolted, when you conquer a place, you have rights to that place. So these Haitians had essentially conquered their own island, having pushed out the French. And the French now show up and decide, hey, we kidnapped you guys, but we kind of came to the conclusion that you didn't really work out as long as we perceived, as long as we foresaw you guys working. So you kind of owe us money. So imagine you kidnap someone, right? You have them working for you for free. And then when they leave, you find them and you tell them, hey, I know I kidnapped you and all, but you still owe me some work.
Which France asserted was 150 million francs. Haiti could either accept this backwards deal or refuse and take option 2, war. And then the French warships sitting in the harbor would simply blow up everything they could in Port-au-Prince. With a gun pointed to their head, Haiti selected option 1 and agreed to pay their former colonial slave masters for their own freedom that they had already paid for with blood. The debt became known as the French indemnity, and although France would technically later reduce the amount owed by the Haitians to 90 million francs, the indemnity economically hobbled Haiti for more than a century afterwards as they struggled paying it back.
Keyword, reduced. They never said, oh, no, it's chill. You know what? This is extremely unreasonable. You guys don't have to pay back. No. They reduced.
With meager resources of their own and a continued lack of international recognition beyond France that limited their trade opportunities, the Haitians were in no financial position to pay back France's indemnity that was forced upon them. They then resorted to several desperate measures to help pay back the debt that included cutting down massive amounts of their own trees for their timber in order to sell to the French, which contributed greatly to Haiti's modern catastrophic deforestation problem, with several predatory loans from French banks to help pay off their original 1825 indemnity that was forced upon them by the French government, which transformed their original debt into effectively a double debt. The original indemnity plus all of the interest on the loans that they were then forced to take out in order to pay the original indemnity. Haiti's government coffers remained depleted and empty for decades and decades as they continually made attempts to pay off this debt, and the French continually threatened to bomb their ports if they didn't pay. By the 1880s, the Haitian double debt was acquired by the modern CIC bank that is still headquartered in Paris today, while the payments continued. CIC created Haiti's first central bank in 1880, but it was a bank that they owned as a front for their own financial interests in Haiti. The central bank was owned by CIC instead of by the Haitian government itself. And then, the precursor of today's Citibank, headquartered in New York, acquired a stake in the Haitian central bank and the Haitian double debt in the early 20th century. By the 1920s, Citibank had bought out or outmaneuvered the other European shareholders in the Haitian central bank, and so all of Haiti's double debt repayments on the original 1825 French indemnity began flowing to Wall Street afterwards.
Oy vey.
Citibank was then able to use its control over the Haitian central bank to impose tens of millions of dollars of additional predatory loans on the country in order to service their original 1825 indemnity, a situation that American communists at the time described as transforming Haiti into an American slave colony. It wasn't until 1935 that the Haitian central bank gained its actual independence from Citibank, and it wasn't until 1947 that Haiti managed to finally pay off the double debt that had been originally imposed on them by France 122 years previously.
Right? In the 20th century, they just paid it back.
Siphoning off of Haiti's meager resources to banks in France and in the United States over more than a century prevented the Haitians from being able to use that money to invest in themselves with things like better infrastructure, education, or healthcare services. In 2022, the New York Times released a landmark investigation into the lasting legacy of this double debt forced upon Haitian society and concluded that had all of that money stayed within Haiti from the very beginning and was used for their own development and compounded over the past 2 centuries of history since then, it would have been worth a minimum of approximately $21 billion in today's money, and potentially as much as $115 billion by other estimates. After the Dominican Republic gained their own independence, they would never face the same kind of debt problem that was forced upon them by their former colonial overlords that lasted well into the mid-20th century.